हाँ सो वही था, सॉरी फोन कर लिया। ये स्पीकर व्यू का बटन कहाँ पे था? हाँ मिल गया अपर में हाँ 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 मिल गया। स्टार्ट कर। There is someone called Realme 2 GDK. Please change your name. Please identify yourself. Realme 2 GDK.
Gangadhar Khandelwal. Gangadhar Khandelwal.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I'm changing the name.
Yeah.
Good evening, Danny.
Good evening.
Are we set?
Lali. Hi, Lali.
Please don't talk.
Oh, okay.
Samir Chaudhary, could you mute yourself, please?
Sure.
Please. Well, Danny, mute everyone.
Yeah,
Keep
it's
unmuted
done.
Barry, yourself, and myself.
Yeah, it's done.
And has the governor has joined? No, right?
No.
Yeah, governor has joined. I can see governor is there. Unmute governor also.
Yes, I can get it. Done.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, friends. Welcome Barry Rassin, the immediate past international president, to this virtual meeting, which is exclusively for District 3240 Rotarians. I am happy that you have accepted our invitation and express your eagerness to join us, talk to the Rotarians of 3240 in this situation when the entire world is going through a uncomfortable days or time, or the phase rather itself. We are happy that we are here still. Around 60 Rotarians has joined to listen to you. I'm sure a couple more Rotarians will be joining soon. Before we start, I would request the serving governor, Dr. Debashish Das, who is already joining this call. I would request Debashish to kindly just quickly give your welcome address in 2 minutes and welcome Barry. Debashish, over to you.
Gotcha. Thank you, Raja, District Governor elect. I think we mute some.
Danny, mute
Done,
everyone.
done,
You
done, done,
muted.
done, done. Just enter and start. No, that is the thing.
Sorry.
Dear friends, it's a wonderful opportunity today to see our immediate Rotary International President Barry out here with us to share his views with all the Rotarians of our District 3240. So, like, you are always an inspiration to all of us during your Rotary year. You would always be the inspiration for all of us throughout. And like now that you have joined us today, like this hour of crisis that you are here, we would like to at least get some feedback, some basically an inspiration for all of us. How do we go ahead? How do we proceed? For example, let me tell you that I need a lot of inspiration now, in the sense, just like the international convention is cancelled. We were supposed to have the district conference on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of April, which was postponed, and I don't see any chances also whether the conference could be held in the next few months. So this is somewhere we need a lot of inspiration from you. How do we go ahead? What is basically the future from today onwards for all of us, the Rotarians of District 3240? This is what I wanted to ask you, a request from all of us, and welcome again to this virtual Zoom meeting for all the Rotarians of District 3240. Welcome, friends, and welcome, of course, past our President, Mr. Barry.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Governor Debashish. We can really understand the last phases of your tenure, how you are passing through. And I'm sure with the experience and probably the RI team he had last year, you the best person at this point of time in our district to inspire us. Friends, we do not require a further introduction of Barry, because Barry just led the world last year only. So memories are very fresh. All of you know the inspiration was his team and how the team has came into. So we are not wasting further time to just introduce Barry here. I'm sure your 1819 directory is lying on your table. Just open up and see Barry's introduction there. Straight away we'll go to Barry to listen to him for which we are waiting for eagerly. Barry, without further wasting time, once again, welcome you. And friends, Barry would be mostly focusing today in his speech where we will be after COVID-19. So that's a very, very relevant and pertinent question that everybody is having these days in mind. And Barry, try to focus, try to enlighten us on the particular topic. With all this, welcome Barry once again, and over to you for your deliberation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Governor-elect, District Governor. Thank you for inviting me to speak with District 3240. A real pleasure, as you're a strong district in our Rotary world. You do a lot of great work. Your support of the Peace Fellow program is fantastic. I love the fact that you have 47 Rotaract clubs and understand the importance of continuing to develop Rotaract. Some similarities interesting. You have a big geographic area as a district with 9 states in India. I have 10 countries in my district on 15 islands. So we're pretty much the same, except I have a lot more water than you do. But the size is interesting. With that size, you've got 91 clubs, you're big, you got 3,100 members. So we have a lot of similarities. You're very strong. One of your strengths is always to have a great support at your district conference. So I could understand your frustration in not being able to have an in-person district conference. Same frustration with our annual convention, should have been in Hawaii. In case you're not aware, we are going to have a virtual convention. How we do that, 30,000 people, I'm not sure. But those are the kind of things that we've got to learn how to do and how we move into this new world. But to give a little background, which I'm sure you're all aware of, we probably will all remember that Bill Gates actually predicted back in 2015 that it wasn't going to be wars that were our challenge. It was going to be the biggest threat to our globe was going to be a virus. That was 2015. Nostradamus also predicted that in 2020, we were going to have a virus, and it was a coronavirus. It's amazing to me that anybody could have envisioned that all those years ago, but he did. So it was coming. And we've had a unique challenge over the years with a number of different major crises in the world. And interestingly enough, it happens almost every 100 years. 1720, we had the plague. 1820, we had cholera. 1920, we had Spanish flu, which killed 33 million people around the world. And now we have COVID-19. We're in the middle of it. We don't really know where we're going with what's going to happen with us. And I'm sure we all listen to the news on a regular basis. And what we have to do is be careful we don't over-listen, because we get totally wrapped up. I know I'm guilty of this. I watch all the news. I've got it on my phone, as I know all of you do. And every couple hours, I'm looking how many new cases we have around the world. And we know they're underreporting. Countries aren't telling us everything. And we don't have enough tests to really test everybody. So the numbers are much more than we even are seeing in both confirmed cases and in deaths. So this is a major global health crisis that is about to cause, if not already started, an amazing global economy crisis. It's going to happen. But we have to start thinking about the good things. We should always be looking for opportunities as an organization, as Rotary clubs, districts, and as Rotary International. And one thing I like to look at is I'm from the healthcare business, 40 years in the hospital business. And I'm really glad that we are really recognizing healthcare workers. And I noticed in the audience, we have at least one pharmacist and at least one physician, and probably others. We need to say thank you to all of our health workers, our first responders, the workers who are restocking our shelves as we run out of products, the teachers who now have to teach from home, online, instead of in classrooms. We need to thank these folks for being able to suddenly transition into a new world. And we'll talk more about the new world as we move on. I know we're focused on what is the cure. Well, they haven't come up with that yet. They're testing different things, whether it's hydroxychloroquine or using individuals' blood who's already had the virus so we can get the antibodies. There's a lot of things going on in the world, but nothing finalized as yet. We need a vaccine. And when you think about it, should anybody travel until we have a vaccine? Because this is going to continue. We know that while many countries are starting to hit their peak, China's ahead of us all where they've leveled off. But leveling off is one thing. Declining in the number of cases and deaths is another. So we keep being happy we're leveling off our peaks, but the reality is it's going to be a while before the cases slow down and stop. So where is Rotary in all this? We have to realize that we are more important as an organization than we've ever been before. There are many nonprofits and corporate entities that are looking to Rotary as the organization that could help people the fastest because they trust our integrity. And we have to continue to build on that integrity and that ability to continue helping people who need our help. And more people than ever are going to need our help. But we have to embrace this new world. The new world is changing. While we're at home, we have to start thinking and not being absorbed in the day-to-day dilemma of being challenged, having to stay at home. I'm sure it's the same for you as it is for us. The Easter weekend, we were 5 days in lockdown. We weren't allowed to leave our house for anything whatsoever. No groceries, no pharmacy, only an emergency for the hospital. Now we're on 24-hour curfew, so we can go to the grocery store and the pharmacy, but that's about it. So we're home. And when you're home, you tend to think sometimes and overthink sometimes. We have to be asking ourselves, what are we thinking and how do we think positive about what we're doing? We need to stay positive. There are opportunities in this crisis that we have with the pandemic, and we have to build on those opportunities. So we look at where is the world going to change? We know the economy is changing. We know that travel is going to be delayed for a long time. What's going to happen with business? A lot of governments are helping big business. Are they helping the small businessmen, the entrepreneurs who are basically going week to week, making a living for themselves and their family, but they are going to need our help. And we need to step up and help them. We also have to be aware, as we're saying at home, what we can control and what we can't control. Don't let those things we can't control disturb us and make us negative. Think about the things we can control, about what we're doing each day. Don't get trapped in the routine, but think about how we're going to move forward in this new world. Part of that, we have to be thinking of security. We need food security. There's a lot of people now, literally tens of thousands of people who are not going to be food secure as we move forward. We need to be stepping up to help them. And I congratulate you. You've already got one of the new disaster grants that the foundation put together so that you could help those in your communities with food, supplies, and rations, which is fantastic. So we can control that. We can do things. We can be positive. We can help our communities. We need to keep doing that. And we have to remember that it's okay for us to be uncomfortable in our current situation. It's okay. But think about what's next. Think about how we're going to get comfortable when this is over. Think about what are we going to have to do different going forward. One of the big questions people ask is, well, when is this going to be over? Well, the reality is never. This is a crisis that is going to continue with us, and the world is going to change, pure and simple. And we have to learn to adapt with the new world so that we can control the way forward in a new situation. And part of that is looking out to see who needs our help. We have to be conscious about what we're doing, conscious about what we're thinking, and we have to embrace the new normal and not be negative about it, not be depressed by it, but embrace it. What do we do to be different? We can do that because we're Rotary. We need to remember not to try to force the old ways into our new life, but to open our minds to what is the new way forward? What do we have to do to enjoy the new systems that we're going to have to put in place? We have to keep our hope. We have to keep positive. We have to stay resilient. We have to help others. And we have to always remind ourselves that, yes, this too shall pass. It will happen. So what's the new order going to look like going forward? Well, there's probably going to be a shift in the world powers where China is going to come out of it and get their economy going back stronger as the first country to do that. They're going to build an economy and a strength on the global level while the US is still going down. We have to keep that in mind. One interesting phenomenon is the environmental changes going forward. If you look at some of the photographs in China and Italy, you'll see blue skies that they haven't seen before. And that's a fascinating factor because that's showing that we have improved the pollution in the world in a short matter of months just by closing all of our manufacturing. Obviously, we can't do that forever. We've got a world and we've got an economy that's got to run, but maybe we can learn what we can do to improve our economy. There's been a drop in the nitrogen dioxide in both China and Italy, a measurable drop. And there's been a drop in carbon dioxide by 1 point. That's fantastic. The drop in carbon dioxide means the waters will not be as warm as they could have been. And when the waters get warm, then our hurricanes in my part of the world get stronger, as they were last year. But if they continue to get stronger, there's nothing we can build that can survive the hurricanes. So the environment's going to improve, hopefully. Automation. Now, in India, you guys are way ahead of a lot of parts of the world with your automation, your ability to be digital, and that's excellent. But we all are going to have to adapt to a new way. Rotary clubs meet online now on Zoom being the most popular. I've been on many Rotary clubs and districts on Zoom calls. Are we going to go back to in-person meetings? Yes. When? We don't know. But will we continue doing some Zoom meetings? Because if you look carefully, you'll notice that on your Zoom meetings, I know in our instance with my Rotary Club, we had seen people on our Zoom meeting that we haven't seen in years. They're coming back. We inducted one new member last week who's in his 30s. So the younger people really are very happy with doing this by Zoom. And we need to continue to grow and do that. And we have to remember, we've got to engage our Rotarians in the Rotary world so that Rotarians still feel involved in what we're doing. Because if they're not engaged, they may fall away. And we don't want that. We've got to continue to grow the organization. We've also got to remember that we could invite people into Rotary who in the past may have said they didn't have time for Rotary. Now they have time. So they're the ones we could go after and engage them to be a part of the organization and be stronger. We also have to learn to adapt to this new world. We've got to learn that working from home isn't so bad, it works. And our company is going to be thinking, wow, I don't need brick and mortar anymore. We can have a lot of our employees working from home to get their jobs done. It's not going to work for every job, but a lot of jobs can do that. And that's a new way of doing business that we are going to have to adapt to. There's going to be a decrease in travel. Should we even travel before we can be vaccinated? And when is a vaccine going to come through? And everybody get the vaccine. A lot of reminders here of polio. You've got to be vaccinated or you have that risk of contracting the disease. They're saying maybe in 1 year we can have a vaccine. How long after that is it going to take to actually vaccinate everybody? It's going to take time. So it's going to be a long time before travel gets back to what it was before. And a lot of concerns with that travel. Governments are going to have to change and include electronic services much more than they have in the past. Again, you guys are probably way ahead of us. My country, you have to go in person for almost everything we do. Certainly the court system. The Supreme Court of the United States is going to have their first court case online next week. That's the first. Never happened before, but governments are going to have to adapt to be able to do that. We have to get our passport online, immigration issues online, get our unemployment benefits online. Everything is need to be moved online. In the long run, that's a good thing because that's going to make everything more efficient when we get back to a more normal life in the future. And of course, close to my heart, the healthcare industry, I think, is going to boom because we're all going to be thinking more, and especially in the healthcare industry, about what do we have to do to prepare for the future? You know, again, I don't know the situation in India, but I know in the United States, there's been a clamor for additional ventilators, additional intensive care beds, They've opened up stadiums as temporary hospitals. They've done everything they can to accommodate this influx. And clearly, the planning that we thought was in place didn't work. We grossly underplanned for a major crisis. Well, we've got to think differently, and we've got to plan better for the future. My little country, I don't know how we're going to get through this, to be quite honest. We have a saying in the Bahamas that if the United States catches a cold, we get pneumonia. Well, US is getting pneumonia. I don't know where that puts us, but we have our major hotels completely closed down, absolutely no tourism, can't even drive into the hotel. And you don't know where my country is going to be. So that's a real fear for us. But our healthcare business, as I say, will continue to grow as they prepare for the future, much better than they have in the past. Education is also going to be an area where we're going to have to see transformation. This part of the world, we're all going online schooling, homeschooling, at least for the rest of this year and possibly starting in September for the next year. But we're finding we're not prepared for that. Our internet connections aren't good enough. So a lot of the youngsters trying to do their school are dropping off because of internet connections. The school's programming has been done so quickly to get them able to do homeschooling that it isn't at the same quality level as it was in the past. And in my opinion, education is one of our most important things. If we get everybody educated to the degree they should, then our world is going to be better because people are ready to do the things they need to do. So education and homeschooling, it's going to be a way of the future to do it differently. Teachers have to adapt, students have to adapt. The parents are going to have a real challenge with that because the parents are now asking themselves, how do I do my job when I go back to work and homeschool? It's hard enough when we're all home together, but we have to adapt to all of that. And I believe one of the positives is there's going to be a strengthening of the family bond. In some parts of the world, and I don't think yours, there has been distance in families. They don't really get together as much as they should. This is forcing that issue. And you're seeing a really strength of family bonding, which is a good thing. That's what we need. And moving forward, we'll do that. So what's Rotary doing about all this? Well, the initial reaction by the Rotary Foundation was to put $1 million into the Rotary Foundation Disaster Fund. So the districts around the world get grants of $25,000 per district to help them with supplies or with food or whatever is related to the COVID-19 virus. So they did that, and within days, they had 150 applications, $25,000 a piece. You do the math. We only were able to provide 43 grants out of that $1 million. So the Rotary Foundation has now put another $2 million into the fund so that we can try to accommodate all those who've requested and go forward. They're also talking about ensuring that the priority going forward will be COVID-19 grants, global grants. And I suspect that you have other grants, they may be put aside until we've exhausted all of the requests for the coronavirus grants. So we have to be looking carefully at what are we going to do to get the world order back. We have access to grants. $3 million is not a lot of money. So we've asked districts around the world to please commit some of your, put it back. And they've made an exception to our normal rules so the districts can give some of that DDF to the disaster fund, which will allow districts around the world to be able to do more in this moment of crisis. Tomorrow we have a meeting of some of the trustees for next year to talk about what are we going to do starting July 1st from the foundation. And the conversation will be, well, our priority has got to be with the coronavirus grants. So going forward, I suspect even next year, you'll see us doing that. On the other hand, we cannot take our eye off the ball of polio. Polio eradication has been our #1 priority. It continues our #1 priority. Unfortunately, in Pakistan, they're also staying at home. Therefore, the health workers who vaccinate children are unable to go house to house and vaccinate children. So we might even have a further increase. It's still limited to Pakistan, Afghanistan, but India has done a fantastic job of eradicating polio and maintaining that eradication. I congratulate you for that. But we've got to keep our eye on that and not allow that to build up and spread to other countries. 2 endemic countries, Nigeria hasn't had a case in 3.5 years, so we've still got to make sure we watch that carefully. And we've got to look at our membership carefully going forward, because we can't afford for those Rotarians who are on the fringe of Rotary to say, well, there's no longer in-person meetings, I'm going to drop out. We've got to make sure we keep them engaged and bring in new members, as I said earlier. If you look at 1918, when the Spanish flu hit and there was a real concern, Rotary grew by 18%. And I think that tells you a lot about the opportunity that we have. People want to go out and help others. They see the need in every country in the world. I mean, imagine 212 countries and territories around the world are affected by the coronavirus. So the need is seen, and when people see the need, they're more interested in getting involved. Let's use that as our opportunity to get involved as they see us stay positive. And we need to show that we care about our Rotary family and about our communities. And you're doing that by the grant that you've gotten, and I'm sure other things that you're doing to help your communities. We have to stay positive. We have to help each other. If we don't see a Rotarian come on to our meetings, give them a call, find out if they're okay. We're sitting at home doing the things that we do at home, but remember the others who need us, and sometimes just a phone call can help give people that positive feeling that we all need. So we have to stay strong, we have to stay safe, we have to stay healthy. We have to get through this, and I strongly believe that it's Rotary that is going to be stronger after this as we help others to get through this crisis around the world. It's a true pandemic that none of us expected. It's a crisis. In the business world, when you have a crisis, you use the crisis to make major positive change, because people are more willing to accept change when there is a crisis. So I urge you, think about what changes do we need to make. RI is going to be talking about them, and our districts should be talking about them, and clubs should be talking about them. I know my club has done so well with the Zoom meetings that I suspect even when we get back to in-person, we're going to have some Zoom meetings as well, so that we can encourage those who prefer Zoom or an online meeting to the in-person. So let's use those opportunities. Let's stay positive. Let's stay safe. Let's stay healthy. And again, I'll close with thank you for all that you're doing as a district. Remember to help your clubs. Every club we need to reach out to and see what help does the clubs need. Do they need speakers? Do they need to understand how to do Zoom? I'm working with somebody now who's never done Zoom before, and they're trying to figure out, how do I start? How do I host? How do I keep the bombers off of Zoom and those kind of things? And we need to reach out and help others in our own communities, with our Rotary clubs, and with each other. So thank you for inviting me today. It's a pleasure to be in India in the evening today, and although it's morning for me, and I wish you all the very best, and thank you for all your help. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Barry. It's indeed been a pleasure hearing you, and I am really amazed. You touched such areas where actually each and every Rotarian should get inspired. And I take one point from your entire deliberation, that you are saying that there could be a possibility that Rotary membership will shoot up after this COVID-19. as we witnessed during the Spanish flu. So we are really hopeful of doing something good in days to come, and I really appreciate your wonderful and inspiring speeches, and I'm sure that the Rotarians of District 3240 will get benefited. Meanwhile, Barry, I tell you that your governor from my district, Dr. Shantan Gupta, is here. So, Danny, would you just unmute Shantan to say just hello to his world president? Shantan, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. Barry, your president, Dr. Shantan Gupta.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay, Barry, we have a couple of questions which has been...
Way off.
Shantan, are you saying something?
Yeah. Shall I carry on?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Just a bit. Yeah, okay. Barry, I sincerely feel it very much that had we met at more pleasant times, it would have been far better for everybody. But in any case, we are those belonging to the Be the Inspiration generation, and I am sure that we will be able to overcome anything, any crisis that befalls us. Because you may remember that my wife had once drawn a picture to show you that Rotary is rising.
Yes.
And it will continue to rise. It will continue to rise. And we shall continue to be the inspiration to all and sundry. I don't want to take up the others' times, but we are all with you. We are all with our present governor. We are all with our incoming district leaders as well. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thanks for being on the team last year.
Thank you, Dr. Shantan.
It was my privilege, sir.
I'm sure always a governor and the international president has a nostalgic feeling when they can see each other. Thank you so much. And Barry, thank you so much for giving this pleasure to meet and talk Shantan here in virtual meeting. We have a couple of other past governors from our districts also who are in this call. And we have one past governor from our neighboring district, that is Calcutta 3291 from RIP and Shekhar Mehta's district. Past Governor Amitabh Mukherjee is also there. So I acknowledge all past governors' presence in this meeting. But as I said, Barry, we have a couple of Rotarians who wants to interact with you with a couple of questions. So first question coming up from a young Rotarian, incoming assistant governor from Rotary Club of Guwahati City, Abhishek Jitani. Danny, can unmute Abhishek.
Done.
Yeah. Abhishek, go ahead. Ask your question to Barry.
Good morning, Barry. Very glad to meet you. Even I was the president when you were the RI president. I was the club president that year. So my question, and being a past Rotaractor and a past DRR, my question to you is, can you please put some light on the enactment 19-72, the Rotary Act enactment, and what inspired you to lead the enactment in the 2019 COL?
Right. I don't have half an hour to explain that, but I'll try to do it briefly. The idea is that Rotaract clubs are equally as important as Rotary clubs. And when you look at the average age of Rotary around the world, it's pretty high. Average around the world, late 50s. Some countries are late 60s, even 70. And we need to fix that. To me, the opportunity is to inspire Rotaractors to continue to grow and then to make sure they join Rotary clubs. Around the world, prior to this, less than 4% of Rotaractors joined a Rotary club. So we were losing an opportunity. So I wanted to make sure that as an organization, we gave Rotaract more respect and treated them more as equals, especially the community-based Rotaract, because they're younger than us, but they're doing the same thing we're doing. And they're working hard and they're doing it understanding the technology of today. So we changed the constitution and bylaws that instead of Rotary International being made up of their members or Rotary clubs, we change it to Rotary International is made up of members of Rotary clubs and Rotaract clubs. So we brought an equality to the two organizations. Now we still need to go through and fix some of the differences between Rotaract and Rotary. As an example, why can't a Rotaract club go and get their own global grant? That's going to happen at some point. The trustees are talking about it. Rotaract clubs need to understand they're going to have to follow the rules that Rotary follows and be closer to being in compliance in order to get a global grant. But I could see that happening. Now, since that item joined the Constitution, the board then said, well, why do we have this arbitrary age of 30 to max out of Rotaract? So the board eliminated the maximum age. And when you think about it, it only makes sense because individuals mature at different times. Somebody at 30 may be ready for Rotary, both in their career and the personal life and financially, but some may be 32, 35, whatever. Some of the concern with that we get feedback is, well, that means a 60-year-old could join a Rotaract club. That's not the way it's going to work because they're not going to feel comfortable doing that. And what it's going to do is going to entice Rotaractors to stay with Rotaract as long as they're comfortable and until they're ready to join a Rotary club. And then we'll get more of a transition of that 250,000 individuals. If they all move into Rotary, our organization is going to grow at not only a faster rate, but with a younger population who's going to make us much more effective in the future. So I'm a strong believer in Rotary. Long answer to your question, but it's complex.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Abhishek. And thank you, Barry. I think you asked one question which covers many one's related questions because Gary answered really in a described way. Okay, next question would be from Dr. Danny Doctor. Danny, go ahead.
Yeah, good evening and good morning. Actually, I'm also a past Rotaractor. So I just wanted to know, like, it's very good that the new resolution has come in from COL. But do you think, like, if we impose RI dues, it would become a problem for, the Rotaract clubs in places like us, Northeast India or anywhere like that, where it is very difficult to maintain, sustain the clubs anyway. And then when we give them a financial burden, it becomes even more difficult.
And that's one of the challenges in some parts of the world. I know the board is looking at what are the dues structure going to be for Rotaract. That's one of the pending questions. I think they've come up with a decision. I believe they're going to ask Rotaractors, I don't know if there's public knowledge yet or not, for $8 per member per year. And that will happen for a couple of years, so people will have time. But yeah, there's no question that when we put too much financial burden on a young person who's not ready for that, then that could jeopardize them and they'll continue to leave. In many parts of the world, the cost of being in the Rotary organization isn't so much from the Rotary International dues, it's more from the food they have to pay for, the dues that the clubs and the districts ask for. So all parts of the organization need to look at what are the financial burden for our young professionals and how do we as Rotary clubs help them to get through that so we don't lose them from Rotary altogether. But yeah, that is a challenge in a number of parts of the world that we have to look at. How are we going to help them through that?
Thank you.
Thank you, Danny, and thank you, Barry. Barry, I just recall one famous line which Paul Harris said, that sometimes we have to be revolutionary. And I think with Rotaract, you are perhaps the one world leader who started doing some revolutionary activities. And I'm sure that is the reason the more questions related to Rotaract will always come to you whenever you go across the globe. And that has been happening in 3240 also. Our next question from Rotarian Sumitra Goswami, a past president. a past assistant governor from Guwahati. Sumitra.
Good evening and good morning to you. My question is, you are an advocator for bringing the younger generation, the Rotaractors, into Rotary. How do you feel this will benefit Rotary, keeping in mind that this is the age when the younger lot careers?
Voice is not coming, Sumitra.
Sumitra,
Hello?
I think your last part was having some network issue. Could you repeat once again?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, please.
You're an advocate for bringing the younger generation, the Rotaractors, into Rotary. How do you feel this will benefit Rotary, keeping in mind that this is the age when the younger lot will have to be putting in more stress to their education and their careers?
Well, again, firstly, I'm a proponent of Rotaract altogether, the 18 to whatever, but I'm stronger proponent of the community-based. So the individuals, they've been through school, they've started their career, and that's a point where they begin to join Rotary. If we don't capture them at a young age, we may not capture them later. So the idea that we have to work out is how do we encourage them to stay with Rotary, whether it's beginning in Rotaract or whatever. And that means it has to be less expensive. They have to have time for their families. We can't take them away from their families. And they have to be excited by what we do. You'll find that if they don't want to go to boring meetings, they want to, their time has to be, is valuable to them, and they want to use it the best way for themselves. So they're not going to leave work for 2 hours to go to a lunch, as an example. But if they had something after hours just for a drink, that's working with satellite clubs or whatever. So it's got to be effective for them and their family. It's got to be time-wise effective. But at the end of the day, all the clubs that we've asked, Rotaract clubs, their bottom line is they want to make the world a better place. And what we have to do is make sure they understand Rotary is the best way to make the world a better place. So you need to join Rotary, but we need to figure out what works for you. And a lot of Rotaract clubs meet only twice a month. Rotary clubs could do the same. I tell Rotaractors, if you look around and you don't see a Rotary club that works for you, they meet at the wrong time, they have boring meetings, they aren't doing any service, then start your own Rotary club. Do it the way you want to do it in Rotaract. And they're loving that idea because now they can continue with the people they know, the age range they know, and do the service that they really want to do. But we capture them in Rotary at an early age. It benefits us by bringing in younger individuals who understand today's technology, they understand today's world better than a number of the older Rotarians. And we need that as part of Rotary. To me, there's an ideal situation when you take our older Rotarians, 70s and 80s, and you mix them with young Rotarians in the 30s, then you have the ideal world because we have an experience to bring to them and a background, and we can share that. They have an understanding of the new world, and they can share that. And that makes our organization stronger. If we don't do that, then we are going to drop membership over time because our average age is so high. So yeah, I think it's very important that we are relevant to the young professionals, and we find a way to make it work for them, help them. Don't let them look at us and say, no, I can't do that. But ask them, what can we do different that makes you want to be part of Rotary?
Thank you.
Thank you, Sumitra. Thank you, Barry, for elaborating this answer. The next question we'll be having from one president-elect from Tagore's own place, Rabindranath Tagore's place, Bolpur Shantiniketan, Bishodev Chatterjee. Bishodev Chatterjee, please go ahead and ask your question quickly.
Hello, Mr. Rassin. Good morning to you. I have one question to you. You have just told that tomorrow the trustee board of Rotary International will meet to determine the priority areas in the coming year. then is it possible that given the post-corona scenario of economic disaster across globe, that Rotary gives entire focus on community economic development in the coming year?
Well, that'll be part of the discussion of exactly what do we have to do with the new world that we live in now. And the trustees for next year want to be sure that we're going to be relevant to Rotary around the world. So we'll certainly be looking at economic and community development because that's going to take the biggest hit from the coronavirus. So that's got to be part of our discussion. But again, you can't forget polio, you can't forget health needs. We still have to be relevant to what the world is going through, but there's going to be a priority on developing our economies and developing our communities. So that's got to be part of our conversation.
And particularly in India, the rural sector is vastly devastated. So it is better to give more stress on community economic development, particularly in rural areas in the next year.
Yeah, of course, part of that is that's where districts and clubs have to make priorities for their local communities, as well as look at international. And that needs to come from clubs and districts.
So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Biswadev Chatterjee, and thank you, Barry. Next question is from Rotarian Nirmallo Ghosh from Durgapur Aero City, a past president from Durgapur Aero City. Nirmallo.
Am I audible?
Yeah, Nirmallo. Yeah, Nirmallo.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Good morning. Myself, from Rotary Club of Aero City, Durgapur. Sir, as you said, though we have disaster response fund, which seems to be not at all sufficient after experiencing this devastating pandemic situation all over the world. So my question is whether Rotary International is thinking to raise or create a separate corpus as pandemic fund to fight against any such situation in future, which will also make an impact on the public image of Rotary, especially for the non-Rotarians of the whole world. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Another good question. That's on top of our minds. How are we going to raise additional funds? We can't just keep depleting the World Fund because we need what we have in the World Fund. Our investments, while they're not doing badly, they are less than we would normally expect. So how are we going to get these funds? One, we've asked, again, districts, if you have any leftover DDF, and around the world, there's $52 million sitting in district designated funds that are over a year old. So if districts would just look at what they have in the leftover DDF and give that to the disaster fund, then that would raise funds for us to use. To me, that's easy thing to do because it's things that we probably don't already have committed in the districts, and we could give that to the World Fund for the disaster fund. The other is, and we have to keep this between us because it's not public knowledge yet. I don't know if that's humanly possible, but I'll try. On April 26th, we're going to have a telethon. That's like, I think, a week from Sunday. So we're going to do a telethon to raise funds specifically for the COVID virus projects. It's going to be 11 o'clock in the morning Eastern Standard Time so that we can raise as much funds as we can. And what I urge you all to get on that link. It's going to be on Zoom, but it's going to be Facebook Live. So you could access it through Facebook from Rotary International. They will be hosting it, and you will hear from a lot of the senior leaders around the world. I'm sure Shaker will be there, Olga, Mark, our board members, some trustees. You'll hear from a lot of them as to asking you for support and asking the Rotary world for support. So that's coming up to raise funds. So I totally agree. We need to do whatever we can to raise funds specifically for projects going forward. And believe me, we will do that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Nirmalo. Indeed, it's a relevant question that you ask, and Barry has clarified much. Really, we
Screen
need to
sharing,
think.
please close it.
Danny, can you just check who is screen sharing? You can remove that. Barry, you'd be happy to know that Rotractor is always close to your heart. And in this meeting, we have DRR incoming, that elect is here. And also around 10 to 12 Rotractors are here. As soon as they heard your name, they said, can we get a meeting ID and password? We can want to join. So 10, 12 Rotractors is here and is been led by the incoming DRR. I would just request incoming DRR to kindly come quickly and say hello to Barry. And Barry, if there is any 2 lines that you want to inspire the Rotractors of 3240.
Hi, good evening, Barry sir. We have been a biggest fan of you since your presidential tenure with one statement from you, that is together with Rotary is unstoppable. I think that line inspires our partnership with our DG Shivashi Chatterjee, who is keeping Rotary in front of every aspect and every sphere, be it inducting Rotaractors in any of the committees, many of the committees like education, health, sanitation, etc. We are very lucky to have DGE. So I see some shadow of yours in our DGE being in 3240.
Fantastic. Thank you. DRRE, important man, important position to encourage our Rotaractors to be proactive in telling us what can Rotarians do to help Rotaract clubs to develop and do the things that they want to do and make them feel more accepted into Rotary. And that's fantastic, but be proactive with that. Again, I think it's a great opportunity, and I've encouraged districts around the world to include Rotaractors on their district teams and to include Rotaractors in the district training. When we do pets, we're going to do pets for our, how many we have? 64 Rotaract clubs and 84 Rotary clubs. We're going to do the training so we can combine and some separate, some together, so that we create that relationship between Rotaract and Rotary, because we're all one. We're a little different in age, but we all are trying to make the world a better place. The better we work together, the better we change the world. So thank you for being a good Rotaractor, and thank you for being a future Rotarian.
Thank you so much, Tushar. Thank you so much for joining this call along with your team. And Barry, definitely your wisdom, your thought for Rotaract is definitely will give a little water to Rotary in days to come. And keeping all your vision, I can just highlight for my year next year, I have kept 10 Rotaractors in my important district committees. And I am parallelly working with them so that we can invest some good time to them so that Rotary would be benefited in days to come. So with these things, with these words, Barry, I would really appreciate your time, your talent, and your speech to motivate and inspire the Rotarians of 3240. I'm sure whatever you spoke to us today, it will not be just a meeting for an hour to attend and finish. The impact what you are putting us here today in this meeting, I'm sure the Rotarians will take it further and keep it in mind. So this presence virtually in 3240 would make some difference in days to come, especially in an hour when the entire world is facing the crisis, and these inspirations definitely make some difference. As this meeting is happening virtually, we are not physically present or physically meeting each other. So we are sending an invisible basket from 3240, from governor's end, from my end, from the First Lady, Dr. Cherish, and my partner, Pooja, to you and Esther, invisible basket full up with love, affection, and greetings from 3240. way from India to Bahama, which will surround you all the time, especially in this crisis period, and bring good hope. Wish you a stay safe and healthy, and be inspiration to Rotarians for days to come as you are. Thank you so much, Barry, for joining us in this virtual meeting today.
Thank you so much. I couldn't ask for a better gift. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Barry. Have a nice day and have a good day ahead. And Rotarians of 3240, good night to you all. Thank you.
Thank you all. Good night.
अच्छा
गेस्ट के जाते तो
Thank you very much and
गेस्ट के जाते
congrats.
डैनी दा ऐसे अनम्यूट कर दे जैसे पता नहीं स्कूल का छुट्टी हो गया हो
छुट्टी हो गया हाय
टिफिन का छुट्टी मेल गिरता है ना
Barry, just check. Barry is here or Barry
अनम्यूट
left?
हो गया
left yes left
And Danny, wonderful work.
I would request everyone please
Danny and
log
Raja.
in with your names
IPDG, tell me.
राजा
Haji.
बॉटल भेजो हम लोग 4 जन है हम लोग का क्लब
हाँ सबको देगा
हाँ देगा
भेजो व्हाट्सएप में भेज देगा
जैसे एलिजिबल वैसा भेजो
So all of you enjoyed today's meeting?
fantastic
very much
all the meetings are very informative very
Thank you, DG.
Thank you.
And thank you, Danny.
welcome my pleasure
Thank you, Danny.
Immediate past governor, thank you, governor. Acha, tomorrow, everybody, have you seen the e-fellowship flyer?
Yes.
देखा
waiting for it
Join us tomorrow at e-fellowship.
गाना क्या गाएंगे हम लोग
कुछ भी गाना गा लो, बैसाखी का कोई डांस कर लो, चाहे
अच्छा what time would be what time the house of fellowship would open
it will be open at 8 o'clock only.
पहले से house of fellowship करके आना पड़ेगा
Open your button.
8 o'clock. 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock in the morning
Tomorrow evening.
Term house of fellowship. Bloody much.
Good evening, Somida.
Good evening.
So tomorrow.
Good night, all. Nice meeting you.
Good night.
Good night, all of you.
आपके मीटिंग आईडी और पासवर्ड का
पेज चलो in fact flat the poster ta se kaise seta you can check
সন্ধ্যাবেলা পোস্ট করে
check karo dada kadi diye sabai ke so tomorrow একটা কাজ করো to make everyone interested just present something 2-line song or whatever so that we can have everyone's involvement and yes and I request the new Rotary Club members Durgapur Elite Royal Bengal and Heritage Shillong, if you are there please do not miss join us at maximum numbers so that you can, because you are the new clubs, you are not very much acquainted with 3240 fellowship or rather you do not know much Rotarians also. So my request, tomorrow join and get yourself with all Rotarians, and I'm sure in this odd hours just have a little small smile in our face in during this Bihu time or the Navaborsho or Baisakhi, because we spend everyone at home only. So let us have some virtual fellowship to enjoy and be engaged in Rotary furthermore.
What do you mean by virtual fellowship? You will be sending virtual.
सबको एक बोतल भेज देना राजा सबको एक बोतल भेज दे व्हाट्सएप में
भेज दूंगा, कोई बात नहीं।
अरे you'll get virtual scotch. Don't worry, you'll get
I'll have to drink the green tea in glass.
भेज दूंगा मैं।
अपने 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 घर में खोल लेगा सर। Take their own glass.
कल के non-Rotarians are allowed.
মনোজ
हाँ।
কেমন আছো মনোজ?
अपना हाथ में ड्रिंक दे देना।
कल के if the non-Rotarians are allowed, then we would like to
Ay,
see
देखो।
first lady, next year first lady.
No, if you are bringing any non-Rotarians, you bring them and introduce them first, because this program is exclusively for the Rotarians. So if any outsider is there, we need to inform everyone that a non-Rotarian guest is also there. So you can bring.
Agreed.
Family non-Rotarian नहीं होता है, spouse and
वही तो बोल रहा है, फैमिली के साथ तो ज्वाइन कर ही सकता है।
तो रोटरी का फैमिली हो गया।
कल तो ऑफिशियल परमिशन है सबको का।
First lady, next year का first lady.
If you see my message, it is already written in Rotarian spouses and Rotarylets.
Okay, thank you Devashish sir. From
Hello,
Rotary Ukra.
thank you. हाँ बोलो।
Rotary from Rotary Ukra. Giving my best thanks.
अरे भाई रोटरी उखड़ा को नाम बोलना नहीं पड़ता है, चेहरे से ही पता चल जाता है।
One of the oldest club.
चेहरे से ही पता चल जाता है रोटरी।
Thank you.
मनोज शर्मा इतना अनपॉपुलर।
Okay, Raja, good night. Thank you very much for.
Tripalda, thank you. Tripalda, join tomorrow. Be my guest.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.